Good afternoon. First on the injury side, long snapper Kyle Petrucci will be out. Bailey Parsons came in and did a very good job, and he'll continue as our long snapper. Branson Bragg was not able to finish the game. Looking more like he's doubtful. Still possibility. We're going to see how it goes over the next day or two. But if he can't go, then Jake Hornibrook will come back in. Jake finished the game and played very well, as he did throughout the year last year. So I'm excited to still have some depth there. So if Branson can't go, I know Jake will step in there. Going back to the game, the negatives outweigh the positives, but there were positives. But we have to be better in the red zone, offensively and defensively. Not scoring enough touchdowns and giving up too many. Got to be better on third down. We hit spots where we're doing well, but overall, philosophically and execution-wise, we just have to be better. Another thing that's really jumped out is our third quarter production. Coming out of halftime, not doing as well as we really could have, and then turning it back on in the fourth quarter. So, looking at a few things to adjust there, none of which I will talk with you about, but just let me know that we've noticed that and we're working on that. After really get starting the running game on against Oregon, hit a rough spot in this game. They did some really good things against us schematically, and then we missed some blocks, and didn't give our guys a chance to get going. On the positive side, we saw Jet Toner bounce back, and that's what we expect from Jet. Perfect on his field goals, great on the kickoffs, distance and hang time and location were great. Got great production out of our defensive line, much better production out of our defensive line and inside linebackers, and got another turnover. And then we've seen now our capabilities in spurts, and the fourth quarter was more like what we would hope the whole game would look like, moving the ball offensively and getting stops when we needed to on the defensive side. So attacking this week with a sense of urgency. Practicing with urgency, not hitting anymore, not tackling anymore, but really being intentional about everything that we're doing and trying to make sure that carries over to Saturday, that we play with a sense of urgency that we're going to practice with this week. I'll take questions.
First question is from James Crapia. James.
David, thanks. And I don't want to take too much time away from your beat guys on this, but just wanted to get into the process and background of what took place here in Eugene and whatnot that day, because I'm trying to get a better understanding of from Lane County protocols, conference protocols, what exactly the issue was. So if you could walk through what was the procedural issue at hand with the test to Davis and the rest here. And as far as just jurisdictionally, I know Lane County wants two PCRs. The conference said a rapid PCR would be available, but I'd asked, well, would two of those suffice if they're on separate machines? It's been unclear. So if you could clarify, I realize we're getting into the wonkiness of it all, but this is the state of things. This is the difficulty, and it's trying to prevent exactly what happened. There was a process to try and avoid it from happening. So can you explain how it happened, what needed to be there to avoid it, and prevent it from happening before and going forward?
Well, when you find answers, you reach out to me and let me know. I don't have much more information than you do. It's something happened. Not exactly sure what happened. I know none of the guys that were held out of the game have the virus. None of them have had the virus in the preceding months or since, and they were held out of the game. That's pretty much the extent that I know.
What was at least a rapid PCR available? Whether or not it suffices in Lane County is a jurisdictional thing, that's different. But in terms of confirming the results, was that possible? Was that done on that Saturday?
There were things that were done on that game day, and I just got to refer you back to the Pac-12. They've been more in the weeds. I was too busy trying to get a team ready to play, surprised and anxious and pissed off. And then come Sunday, less surprised and less anxious and a little bit more angry. But there's nothing we can do about it. It happened. Costed those four guys a game, and costed them a week of practice leading into Washington State. So once again, I really don't have time to dwell. I can't really go on an investigative jaunt with you. I wish you well, and I wish you success. And hopefully you can find out whatever nugget is out there that has not been uncovered. But for us, we got to move on because we got another game to play.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Harold Gutman. Go ahead, Harold.
Hi, David. Just another coronavirus question, but with Santa Clara County going into the purple, the most restrictive tier, will that affect your preparations at all this week? I know in the past you've had to go to San Mateo County. Are you looking at doing anything like that again?
Not as of right now. There are some things that we will adjust subtly per county guidelines, but we haven't been doing much in person outside of practice. Not doing very many things indoors. We have to adjust a couple of things that we're doing training wise with our guys. But we're in constant communication with county, and we'll follow the guidelines that they give us.
When you talk about adjusting your training, are you talking about just having smaller groups of people at once?
Well, that's what we're talking about. Once again, we've got some guidance from the county, and we'll continue to seek their counsel on that. Look, we've trained in small groups throughout the summer. If we have to go back to doing that, we can do that. This is the last week of school for our guys, so at least if it going into next week, we'll always have more time during the day to space out the workouts and treatments for our athletic training. So, like I said, our guys are used to adjusting, so we'll adjust and continue to prepare to play.
Next question is from Janie McCauley. Go ahead, Janie.
Hi, David. Thinking about, again, when we talked about Davis Mills a minute ago, just the situation he was thrown into is probably fair. Last weekend, coming off such, no time to prepare. I mean, how much are you looking forward to this week and actually him being able to go through what you need to go through to be ready for Washington State? And how much credit do you give to him and the others too, certainly for what they were able to do given the difficult circumstances?
Well, a lot of credit goes to Davis's family and how he was raised and kind of person he is. I talked to him on game day. He said, "Hey, coach, there's nothing we can do about it right now. I'm just wishing my guys success and rooting them on." And he and I have a very similar mentality. Doesn't have a lot of highs, doesn't have a lot of lows. Deals with the situation that's presented. With one 45-minute practice on Friday, went out and played relatively well. I think the rust was there. A couple of things that we weren't able to do, or we tried to do, that didn't work. We're tough. It's a tough spot to put him in. He came back and honestly, second half really found his rhythm and played like we know he's capable of. It's Tuesday this week, and we haven't even practiced today, and he's already practiced more this week than he did last week. So we're excited about continuing that process and getting him back in there and being ready to go this weekend.
Thank you.
Next question is from Troy Clarity. Go ahead, Troy.
Hey, Coach, two things. One, seems like there's some similarities between Colorado, their defensive approach, especially in its front seven, and Washington State, which is historically over the last few years had a very active front seven. What sort of lessons, especially with the offensive line and dealing with Colorado's active front seven, do you hope the guys take into dealing with the Cougs and what they can do, what they seem to be able to do with their front seven this year?
Well, honestly, as it relates to the running game, I thought all training camp We did a really good job blocking movement. I thought we did a good job against Oregon blocking movement, and we did not do a good job against Colorado blocking movement. So if I was playing against us, yeah, I'd move our front all over the place. But I know our guys have worked on it. And I know we're going to be better than we were a week ago. They don't have, it's not the drastic movement that the last staff employed on the defensive side, but they're quick, they're subtle, they're physical. So that's going to be a tough match for us.
Second thing, one guy we haven't seen so far this year, it seems, is Osiris St. Brown. What's the update on him?
Yeah, Osiris should be ready to go this week. He, as you know, he was in that group that was held out the week before, coming off a non-COVID related situation. He feels great. He looked great last night. So he should be involved in this week's game plan. And much like Davis, he was coming off of an injury situation, and then didn't get any practice. So although Davis got thrown in there and Connor got thrown in there, they weren't coming off of an injury. So we didn't feel comfortable coming off an injury with no practice, putting him out there. I think that would have done him a disservice, but he looks good, he feels good, so he'll be involved this week.
Next question comes from RJ Abadia. Go ahead, RJ.
Coach, what can you tell us about the situation and the process that led Ayden Hector from going from a Stanford signee to a Washington State freshman at this point?
Not much. I don't talk about admissions decisions. We recruited Ayden, and doesn't take you long to do any digging to see what happened. But our admissions department made a decision, which we understood. Had communication with Ayden's family, they understood. Washington State, who I did not communicate with at all, they did their due diligence, and they brought him to their school and added him to their football team.
And then, yeah, obviously realizing you can't say too much, but when did this come on your radar that something was awry? Because I know he signed, I know he was at Big Visit. When did this first pop up for you guys as an issue?
Gosh, sometime after signing day. Hadn't heard anything about it through the entire recruiting process, not from the school, not from anybody else. So when it popped up, our administration got involved, our admissions department got involved, and made the decision.
Thank you.
Next question comes from Jacob Rayburn. Go ahead, Jacob.
Hey, Coach, one more follow-up on an injury question. Wondering about Toby Amura's availability.
He may be a later week decision. I was hoping to get him in some practice today. That may or may not happen. Still, I wouldn't quite list him as doubtful right now. Probably questionable. If we can't get him on the field by tomorrow, then it'll probably shift to doubtful. But we're hoping to get him out there. He had an outstanding training camp. Really excited about adding him to our group of guys that are playing right now. But we'll see. We'll see. He's working through something. Hopefully we can get him back out there.
And sticking with that position group, we talked about their discipline with assignments on read options at the end of the game Saturday. Upon further review and getting guys on the practice field, what are your thoughts now about moving forward and improving the defense of that play?
Well, it's never just one position when you're talking about stopping the quarterback option. There's a reason why pretty much everybody in America, including us, is doing it. It makes it really tough, and you have to cover all those things in every defense that you call. Someone's got the dive, someone's got the quarterback. It's option football. You got to do it in every defense that you play and against every formation that you see. Sometimes they bluff you, sometimes they block you, sometimes they bring a tight end from the backside. Those are all things that you work on, all things that you have to your eyes have to be in the right spot, and everybody's got to do their job. So once again, it's not just one position.
Next question comes from Kylan Mills. Go ahead, Kylan.
Hey, Coach, just want to ask a quick question about the quarterback room. I guess, obviously, Davis Mills being your guy, but based on what you saw in week 1 from Weston McKee, do you see any situation where they get on the field again later in the season, or any situation where they might be utilized?
Well, hopefully one of these days we're up by a bunch. We can put them in. Short of that, Davis is our starting quarterback, and there could always be situational things that could crop up, but for the most part, I think Davis can do everything we need the quarterback to do. So that's pretty much how we'll stay.
Next question comes from Sam Pasco. Sam, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, Davis made some big plays on the ground against Colorado, a big 15-yard run and a rushing touchdown. Is his rushing ability something you're looking at continuing with this week?
Absolutely, it's just part of who he is, and I think we saw that at the end of the year last year. Scrambled multiple times, did a couple of quarterback design runs for him. It's what he did all the way through high school. He's a better athlete than I think he's gotten credit for. When you really watch and study him, he does a great job of getting outside the pocket. And you see he's not frantic. He's not anxious. He gets out of the pocket, he still looks down the field, and he gets positive yards and he gets down. That's what you need. And one of our philosophies here for the longest time was, 3 to 5 plays a game. The quarterback's got to get his positive yards with his legs, whether we call it or he has to do it based on protection or based on the coverage. Taking care of guys down the field. So what he did last week is really what we're looking for. If he's got the opportunity to get some positive yards, hey, get it. Avoid the big hit, step out of bounds, get on the ground, and let's line back up and play again.
Thank you.
Next question is from Troy Clardy. Go ahead, Troy.
Yeah, what are some things that stand out, and who are some people that stand out when you look at the Washington State offense?
Well, I've known of Nick Rolovich for a few years now. We have some mutual friends, and watched a lot of what they did at Hawaii. And one of the things he's really, really good at is utilizing his personnel within his offense. So there are years where maybe they weren't the best deep ball team. They killed you underneath. High percentage passes, run after catch opportunities, screens. And then there are years like his last year in Hawaii, where they're a great deep ball team, and they're launching the ball down the field multiple times a game. So we have a lot of respect for him. What stands out to me is that giving guys opportunity to make plays. There's balls being spread around, and as you would expect, and quarterback stepped in and done a really nice job.
Any other questions for Coach Shaw? All right. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate the time. We'll send the audio and video here shortly.
Thank you all.